Oh, yeah, live one. Okay, got it. Okay.
Okay, it shows that we are in here, but let me check here on. Oh, look, we are on. Okay. So hey there, everybody. Tonight, instead of our normal Hacking Hormones for Weight Loss live Q&A, I am doing a special sort of live with a former client and friend, Sharon Carter, about wealth and preparing for our financial future, life insurance, things like that. And what prompted me to do this is because, as you all know, my husband passed recently, and I didn't think about any of this prior to losing him, right? I assumed, which I think a lot of us do, that shit was taken care of, right? Like, I don't have to deal with it. But the reality of it is there were things that weren't done properly because we just didn't know, right? We often don't have the knowledge that other races are passed down with. So in that conversation and reaching out to her to help me set up the rest of my financial future for making sure my kids are taken care of when I'm gone, preparing for financial growth and things like that, I decided I would use this platform, this group with so many amazing people in here, to help anyone that doesn't have the knowledge that I myself did not have and that my parents didn't have. My heart breaks for them being in their 80s and not having the financial foundation to even take care of their basic necessities. So I invited Sharon on tonight so we can just have a casual conversation and sort of open the dialogue and allow you all to ask whatever questions you have in the chat, because Sharon is going to, when she has time, come in here and educate and offer you guys information and knowledge so that we are all set up for success. As I mentioned before, we as a people have been done a disservice in so many areas, and the financial area is one of the huge gaping holes of information and knowledge that we just don't have. So y'all know I can talk and talk. So I'm going to let Sharon introduce herself, and we will go from there. And if you have any questions, I'll drop them in the chat. I am monitoring it on my phone so I can let her know of any questions that come up. She is also going to be popping in when she gets time and doing educational lives. So let her know what you want to know more about. And I'll let you introduce yourself.
All right. First, I want to say thank you to you, Phyllis, for reaching out and for allowing me to share with all these fabulous ladies on your platform. So a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart. My name is Sharon Carter. I live in New York. And I have an MBA in finance. Actually, I've been in insurance now for the last 8 years. And I reinvented myself after being downsized for 6 times in corporate America. So that's another story for another day. But
Right.
yes,
Oh my
but
God. I don't mean to interrupt you, but the corporate struggle, y'all, like
yes,
seriously. Anyway,
yes.
go ahead. I'm
Being
sorry.
a black woman it's a little difficult. It's a little difficult, you know. But thankfully, with the help of God, I reinvented myself. And I serve clients all across the country. I'm not just licensed here in New York. I'm in 29 states across the country, and I really just educate and empower my clients to, think about insurance, not just insurance, but certain financial vehicles differently so that they can create the life that they desire and deserve, not just for themselves, but for their family members, their kids, and so forth. Right now I'm working with a 42-year-old African American male in Long Island, and he said something to me a couple weeks ago when we were on Zoom that just it really hit home. He said, Sharon, as a black male in America, we are not taught this. I said, I know. I'm right here with you, right? He says, I have to do this for my kids. He has 4 kids. He says, I have to do this for my kids because there's no way on earth that I'm going to let them experience what happened to me when my dad died. So, because his dad, his parents worked. His dad had, a position at a company. I forgot what he told me he did. Worked for the company for 30 years. Had life insurance through the company. However, his dad caught cancer not once, but then twice. His dad wasn't sure about what he had through the company life insurance. So, unfortunately, when he passed away, what he thought he had, he really didn't have. So his mom got nothing. So I believe he had more of like accidental death and dismemberment and not really having the life insurance that he thought he had. So
Listen, oh my
it was
God.
no, and it was it's such a scarring event that even now at 42, he's like, Sharon, I before I met you, I didn't really trust insurance. I didn't because I didn't understand. I knew what I went through and all that. But I say all that to say is because he's a real estate investor and he's the first person in his family's first person in his family to achieve a certain amount of wealth, and he wants to be able to pass this on to his four kids. That is a huge deal, and we have to really I say this, we have to take ownership, because if we don't ask questions, if we don't do things like this, if we don't start the conversations, no one's going to tell us. It's not going to just drop out the sky. so
Yeah.
I say all that to say is I'm glad that we have this space right now to be able to answer questions, to clear things up. I'm an open book. One of the things I do like to tell people is, if you do have insurance, life insurance through a job, which is great, I don't knock that. You need to still delve in a bit more. You really need to know because most of the times it's just a simple cheap term policy. Um, Also, to the individual does not own the policy, the company does. So if, God forbid, a person is not active on the job, sometimes the company will still not pay out that benefit. So there's
Yeah.
a lot of things that we're not privy to, and I can't tell you how many times people say, "Oh, I got it on my job. I'm good. I'm great." But do you know that's not really your pot? You don't own that. The company does. So
Right.
the minute you're downsized like me, it's done. The minute, if you're not active on the job, chances are if something happens to you, your family's not going to get a dime. So I tell people it's very important to have your own. So
Right.
yeah.
Well, speaking about the accidental death and dismemberment, that was my experience, right? My husband thought, oh, when I die, you're going to get $800,000. I've got all this accidental death.
Mhm.
And I'm thinking the same thing he is. Okay, we're good,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So when he passed and we're looking at the policy and he has all this accidental death and dismemberment, and I find out it literally only pays out if you are dismembered,
yes.
right? You have to lose, I
A
think it's
limb.
not only one limb, it's both limbs, right? So it was disheartening. Like, actually, we looked into it before he passed because we knew what was coming,
Mhm.
and he was really worried. He
Yeah,
said, I thought I did right, and
yeah,
it's because we don't know. We think,
yeah.
oh, it's an accident unless it's murder, but when it comes to an insurance policy, that's not
That's
how that
right.
is
Mm-mm,
written,
mm.
and you have to be dismembered for
Yeah,
that policy to pay out. That was a huge eye opener. And
yes.
I actually had a potential client tell me, because she sells insurance too.
Uh-huh.
She said that insurance policies know people don't know that,
Yeah.
or insurance companies know people don't know that, and
Hmm.
that's how they make money on that policy, because
Yeah.
it rarely pays out.
Right. Exactly. Look, we all know insurance. The game is
For them to make
it's make
money.
money, right? I mean, that look, we know that. Banks invest heavily in insurance. I mean, heavily. But the thing is to read and ask questions, and don't buy stuff online without any. I mean, I don't know where. I don't recommend that. I really don't recommend someone going online searching for insurance, whether it's health, life, whatever, and just buying something out of the clear blue sky, not knowing what. No, seek out guidance. And that, I mean, look, everybody is not dishonest. You've got to be able to trust someone at some point
Right,
in time in your life. And ask questions. I'm a big advocate about asking questions. There's no stupid question. It's just I think, you're putting yourself in a bad position when you don't do these
Right.
things. So yeah, ask questions, ask for advice, seek out, you don't know what you don't know till you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly. And at that point, it's too late, right? At that point, it's like, well,
That's
you
right.
know,
That's right. That's right.
and I didn't even know until I talked to you that you can build wealth through insurance. Like
Yes,
that can be one of the avenues that you can
yes.
use as a wealth building tool so that you are preparing for your future.
That is correct. And that is one of the things that many of us, and when I say us, the brown community, we are not privy to. Life insurance. When I was growing up, I mean, we're the same age, Phyllis. When I was growing up, I just thought life insurance, if somebody died, you got a lump sum of cash. That was it. I didn't have
Right.
It's only until I got into this industry that the layers started coming off, and I really can see what it is. First off, if someone gets $1 million term policy tomorrow, right, and then a week later they pass away, their family immediately is going to get tax-free $1 million. Where on God's earth are you going to be able to get that kind of benefit? No,
Right.
seriously. And people just think about it, but things do happen, right? So you're getting a tax-free lump sum of cash one time that you're not
Right.
paying any taxes on. Not only that, so there's different types of insurance, Phyllis. So the permanent policies, the whole life and the index universal life, those are the types of, as I call them, financial vehicles that allow a person to accumulate cash value over time, allows a person to access that tax free, allows a person to take the funds from that policy. They can go and buy an asset like a home, or they could buy a car. They can help fund their kids' college education, whatever the case may be. And they don't have to pay it back. If they don't, it comes from the death benefit, but they can pay it back. So, and then at their own pace. There's different things that you can do. And me personally, I do have a permanent policy, and the reason I wanted one, because I had a term at first, not really when I just figured I'd get something quick. But when I said got into the industry, I really got a clearer picture and understanding. I wanted a permanent policy, not only for the cash value, but also because I wanted the living benefits. I wanted the riders in case God forbid something happened to me health wise. You can
Right.
access cash from a permanent policy in the event of any cancer diagnosis, any kind of where are you going to get that type of access to cash? I had a former client when I sold health insurance. Her husband had POMS, a rare type of cancer never heard of before. If it wasn't for the policy that they had with the cat, she would have had to go back to work. They had small children.
Oh
She
no.
needed additional funds to help pay for his treatments. Then they had travel costs because they had to go to another state. I think it was the Mayo. So there was all these factors involved that if they didn't have the money from that policy, that situation would have been more stressful because of the finances associated with it, or the lack of finances associated with it.
Right.
So there's something to, and I'm going to share it with you guys. I saw it a few weeks ago, and when I tell you, oh, I'm good, I got life insurance. I can't tell you how many times I've heard that, but there's something called the no life insurance wheel, right? And we don't think of these things, right? So if someone does not have life insurance and they pass away, first off, there's no money for the funeral. That's the first thing, right? Then there's the family members who can't
But
afford to
that's when you see the GoFundMe go up on
travel.
social
All over,
media, right?
all over. I can't stand it. I cannot stand it. Oh, but that's another story. Don't get me started on the GoFundMe. Stand it. But anyway, you know,
I
there's
mean, don't get us wrong. We're not laughing at the
right.
person that has to
No,
do that,
no, no, no.
but it's just when you see it, you're like, oh man, if they had only known. And
No, that's
that's
what
the
I'm
sad
saying.
part.
Yeah, so that's then there's the family's forced to cremate the remains for financial reasons. Then there's no grief counseling for devastated family members. Then there's no money to cover lost wages, right? Because when that person dies, their wages are gone forever, right? But that lifestyle they've created already with the wages they had is still there. Their responsibilities are still there, right? Family members have to go back to work before they're ready, right? If they're, family must then repay debts out of their own. That's another thing that we don't think about. there's financial responsibilities when someone dies. They still have credit card bills, they still have mortgage, they still have car note. Where's that money coming from?
Right.
So these are things that we don't think about. And, I say it's cheaper to pay for a policy than to try to fork up 50, 60 grand when someone dies between funeral and all these debts, or 100 grand, and you don't know where it's coming from. So, again, these are conversations that we need to have more regularly, more frequently, instead of talking about stuff we don't need to be talking about.
Right. And not facing it until we have no choice, right?
Yeah.
So to shift gears for a moment, if anybody has any questions about life insurance, drop it in the chat so that I can have Sharon answer it. But when I found out she also has a financial background, because obviously I want to make sure my children are set up, like I'm set up for my future and things like that. There's simple strategies that us Black people, unfortunately, or minorities in general, even just as being women, right? That's a minority group, right? Alone. So there's stuff that we don't know about building personal wealth. Like, did you know you could buy little pieces of portions of shares of these big stocks that go up in value, like the S&P 500, to build your personal wealth? It could be like $2 a week. That's something I didn't learn until I was in my 40s. Why am I not learning this until I'm in my 40s? And that it's senseless to have your money in a bank savings account that gives you 0.1% interest. What is that? It will do much better in the S&P 500. And I know people are scared of the stock market. I understand that. But if that's the case, move it to a high yield savings account. Like, why is it sitting in a checking or savings not gaining any interest? The one thing white people do, and they've always done to build wealth, is they put their money to work. Right? That money is just not being spent. It's just not sitting somewhere collecting dust. It's growing somewhere for them. So there is a simple stuff, like we use Apple. Buy Apple stock, little pieces of it a week. It could be a couple bucks a week. It's that easy and that inexpensive to start building wealth. So I say all that to say, because I was going to ask Sharon for like one or two simple things that we as a people probably don't know that could change the trajectory of our future.
Yes, that's a good point, Phyllis. That could be a whole conversation. But what I'm going to one thing, I listened to a gentleman named Myron Golden. You probably have heard of him, and he said something, and I've heard somebody say it too. I think the biggest difference between people who have a lot of money and people who do not is they view the purpose of money is different. So for the middle class, for the poor people, money is about paying bills. He said payday is transfer day. The money come in, you transferring it to Con Edison, to Verizon,
car bill.
Right. It's just whoop, there you go. It don't even right. But wealthy people, when they get money, their whole mindset is, this is now going to get me an asset so it can produce more money. So he says, if you can flip that in your head, that's the first thing right there. Just flip that in your head. Money is not to pay bills. We're not just here to pay bills. Get that out of your head. Right. So how
can I make this grow? How can I put this money to work for me?
How can I get an income producing asset with this money that I just got? That's somewhere in your thinking that has to be there. So, but there's 3 types of money, and I'm going to keep it quick because I know we're going to wrap up soon. And I didn't learn this in I don't think I learned this in college. I don't know. I'm going to tell you right now. I think I probably did in MBA school, but I know I didn't learn this in college. So there's tax deferred money, right? So that's 401k plans, 403b plans, traditional IRAs, pensions, annuities. Tax deferred meaning you're not paying taxes, or you're accumulating, but you're going to pay taxes at the end. When it's time to take out, you're going to, okay. Taxable money, this is the CDs, the money market accounts, the bank accounts, mutual funds, stock dividends, corporate and treasury bonds, and real estate. Someone asked me a question a couple of weeks ago. When you sell a home, do you have to pay taxes on the money? I'm like, yes, you have to pay taxes on the money. That's income that you've earned.
Right.
I didn't know that. I'm like, now you know, right? So, but again, there's no stupid question. Look, she knows
Right.
how.
True.
Right. Then there's tax exempt. That's the tax exempt bucket. That's municipal bonds, Roth IRAs, and permanent life insurance. That's where I say the minority community is sleeping on permanent life insurance because it is tax exempt. There's no taxes. That's why rich people love it.
Ah, I didn't know that either.
Yeah, it's tax exempt. No taxes. You put money in, take it out, no taxes. No taxes.
What? So,
Yeah.
and you know what mindset shift I had to make because, like I said, I've been talking to you and another financial planner to make sure my kids and I are set up, right?
Mhm.
It was, I'm not just spending money because what we often think, if we grew up poor, I grew up poor.
Mhm.
So I tend to struggle with a scarcity mindset. And in
Okay.
my mind, I'm spending money. And she said, no, you're not spending it, you're transferring it.
Yeah.
And where you're moving it to, it's going to grow. If
Right.
you leave it liquid, what's the likelihood you're going to order something and spend that money
Oh,
instead
Amazon.
of putting
Yeah.
it where it will grow? Okay.
Right.
And that's the difference. Like you see people, and I don't even mean to get on this soapbox, but it's happening. You see people that's dressed to the nines, they're wearing their assets
Yes.
instead of putting that money
Yep.
where it can grow.
Yes, exactly. No, because like I said, I have a IUL and I pay my premium every month, and it in my mind it's like, oh, it's my investment. That's my investment. That's my
Yes.
investment. That's my investment, and
And
that's where
you may have to remind yourself like
yeah,
that, like this is an
yeah,
investment. I'm not
that's my
spending this money.
investment.
It's not coming
Yeah,
out of my livelihood.
no,
This is an investment for my future.
it is because I'm self-employed and I don't have, a 401k and a job like most people, so that's part of my financial future planning. So that's
Right.
my investment every month. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So that's
Mhm.
part of your retirement portfolio.
Yes. Because by a
Right.
certain age, I'm going to have a certain amount of money in there, and I know this is for so right. So that's again, it's all about being strategic and diversifying. That's another thing. When I was in corporate America, Phyllis, I had every dime in my 401, every blessed one. Well, that and a savings account. Don't get me wrong. I had two. Don't yeah, that was the majority of my. But
Getting your 12 cents in
yeah,
interest.
and I'm not knocking 401ks. They're great because you get a company match, but it bit me in the butt because when I was laid off for the sixth time, then
And
the,
you had
the
to take it out in a big old
unemployment
chunk.
ran out, right? The unemployment ran out. Where did I go? I went into my savings account. That ran out. And where did I went? I went into my 401k. I was under 59 and a half. I had a 10% tax penalty. The list goes on and on and on. But if I had a permanent life insurance policy with cash, I would have been able to access cash tax free, right? And leave
Wow. And
401k
see,
where
I
it was.
didn't do that.
See,
That's
so
funny.
like I said, I had myself in a financial box, and a lot of us do, and we don't realize that. So
Right. We
yeah,
don't realize it because it's not information that's passed down to
there
us.
you go,
Really
there
not.
you go, there
It's
you
really
go.
not. You know, one trick I learned from her name is Dominique Broadway. That's my financial planner advisor, or whatever you want to call her. She also taught
Okay,
me about stocks.
okay,
Um, she was saying that because she wants me to put some money in an investment and let it grow. Just leave it,
yes,
buy it, let it sit and let it grow because you can still, it's an asset. So
right,
I can still use that money as an asset when I go to buy another asset, which may be a property,
right,
right? And
right,
then I can take that money out and
yes,
use it for the down payment for the property. And
right.
I could still, if I wanted to, take that equity out and put it back
Yep,
into a
yep.
high yield savings. My mind was blown. I was like,
Yeah,
what?
yeah,
Yes, girl. This is
yeah.
how white people have been building wealth for
Yep,
generations.
for
And it's stuff
years.
we're not in those rooms.
Or
We're
we're
just
not
not
even
in
playing the
those
game.
conversations.
We not even on the court. We ain't got the ball in the hand. Nothing. We not even at the stadium, Phyllis. Okay.
No. And it breaks my heart for people
Yep.
like my parents. Like I said, my dad's been working since he was probably 11. You know, he's old
Wow.
school black man. And
Wow.
my mom since she was a teenager, and they have their pension check to pension check.
Yeah.
And it's sad
Yeah.
because if someone had told them just these few little things a
Yeah.
week, then
Maybe.
life could have been so much different.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is, I'm very passionate about you know, we got to move the needle in our community. We have to.
We really
Our
do.
kids, the generations behind us deserve better, and we have to
Right.
show it to them, right? So
Exactly.
we
And
have
it
to.
is time to normalize Black wealth. I
Yeah,
can't take credit for that phrase. I don't remember
right,
where I heard it, but it
right.
is time to normalize that.
It is.
So I know Sharon has a call with a client, so I'm gonna let her go. Thank you so much for
No,
doing this.
thank
Sharon will be coming in when her schedule allows to answer questions and do lives and educate. So if there's anything you want to know, please put it in the comments and tag her so she can see it.
yes.
And that is it for our live tonight.
Yes.
Again, thank you, Sharon. If you have
Thank
any
you,
last
Liz.
words.
Yes. Last words is, you know what? We deserve the wealth that we desire, and
Exactly.
we have to make it happen. All right. So
Exactly.
thank you again,
And
Phyllis.
how can people reach out to you if they want
Yes,
to
you
talk
can
about
find
financial
me
planning
on.
or life
You can find
insurance?
me. You can find me on LinkedIn, Sharon Carter MBA. You can find me on Instagram. I am Sharon P Carter, or Facebook, Sharon the Resource. So,
Awesome.
all right.
Right. Well, thank you, the resource, for
Girl.
gracing us with your presence. And yes, we look forward to your lives. And
Yes.
again, thank you so much for this gift of your time tonight.
Thank you very much, Phyllis. Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Now let's see if I can log this thing off without it messing up.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.